Okay. Well, I just wanted to say good morning, and it's great to see everyone. So thank you for joining us for the Sweet Deception Annual Town Hall Meeting. I wanted to introduce myself for those of you that don't know me. My name is Sarah Ward, and I'm going to be the moderator today. I did want to share a little bit about myself. I am the Director of Community Health Affairs at Windrose Health Network. And in my role, I focus on systems of care, policy, and environment as it relates to public health and community engagement. I serve on a variety of collaboratives and boards that elevate public health and create better communities for all of us. At Windrose, a little bit about them, we offer integrated primary care across 6 care site clinics. And our emphasis is serving those who are in need, so serving the poor. We are a federally qualified health center, and we have 4 sites of care in Johnson County. Just a quick reminder, we do want to keep ourselves on mute as we move through the town hall today. We'll have a question and answer session at the end of each of the speakers' topics. I did want to say a special thank you, though, to Empower Johnson County and the Partnership for a Healthier Johnson County. Both organizations have come together to host this virtual event, so we definitely appreciate it. For those of us that may not know about Empower Johnson County, it is celebrating its 5th year this month. Is that correct, Michelle? I want to say.
Yeah.
So congratulations to you and your team.
Thanks.
Empower Johnson County, it's really a community-based collaborative that come together to reduce and prevent youth substance use through advocacy, education, and enforcement. And so this type of event is part of its ongoing efforts to prevent youth tobacco and nicotine use. And, you know, they really help us stay informed as to what should we be looking for, what are the new products out there. But they also help us with tips of how do we talk to the youth in our lives about how they can make better decisions for themselves. Also, a special thanks to the Partnership for a Healthier Johnson County. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, they've served our community for over 25 years. They've deployed core action teams with volunteer community leaders, subject matter experts.
That's what we keep doing.
And they've just launched a variety of different wellness initiatives throughout our community. They've been a wonderful organization and longtime friend to Johnson County. So today we have 3 topics that we're going to cover in the next hour. So we have wonderful speakers and a lot of content. One of the things that we've recognized is, you know, vaping and nicotine products continue to evolve. And the larger tobacco companies, you know, their strategies, they've really designed them to resonate with our youth. And so to learn more about, you know, the emerging products in our community, I want to introduce Michelle McMahon. She's the community coordinator for Empower Johnson County. She joined that team in 2017. She was a huge proponent in getting Empower Johnson County established. She holds a bachelor's degree in psychology in early childhood education. In 2017, Michelle became a graduate of the Community Anti-Drug Coalition of North America, the National Coalition Academy. She's also certified as a peer program educator through the National Association of Peer Program Professionals. She's a team. Now this is interesting. Okay, she is a team building challenge course and low rope certified facilitator. So Michelle, at some point we are going to talk about a fun team day. And then she's also trained to provide numerous evidence-based tobacco and substance use prevention programs. Michelle, anybody that knows her knows that she enjoys giving back to the community, and she serves on a variety of boards and different partnerships throughout Johnson County. Some of those include Drug Free Johnson County. She's an executive board member of the Tobacco Free Johnson County. And she's also on the board of directors for the Satoma Club of Greenwood. She's been influential in Johnson County, especially with prevention and awareness of child abuse, substance abuse, mental health, and domestic violence. She began working with healthy families in of Indiana program. And through that involvement and experiences, she really found a true passion for primary prevention and providing access and resources to the community. So thank you for sponsoring today's event, Michelle, in collaboration with the Partnership for Healthier Johnson County. And with that, I'll turn it over to you to talk about emerging products.
Awesome, thanks. And thanks for the intro. That's a lot of stuff happening. So yeah, I'm going to try to share my screen with you so we can get started. All right. Okay, so yeah, thanks everybody for joining us today. My part of this is I'm going to share some of the newest devices that we are seeing here in Johnson County. Last year, if you were part of our town hall, we talked a lot about the pod devices, specifically Juul. The Juul was a device that kind of hit the market and just took us all by storm last year. And it was a device that was rechargeable, reusable. It had a small cartridge where you could refill that. And luckily, over the course of the past year, the FDA said, whoa, this is a big deal. We cannot have these devices on the market. And we cannot be selling flavored liquid nicotine for these devices. We need to stop that. So now, because of those awesome FDA regulations, you can still purchase Juul as a device, but it can only be sold in a tobacco or like a menthol flavoring. So you cannot get that in all of the fun flavors they had before, like mango and berry and whatnot. So we have been hearing, though, about some different devices that have hit our local market and that youth are now using instead, because we know that youth want to use the flavored devices. They're excited about things that taste good or smell good. And so I'm going to just kind of run through and share some of the devices that we have seen and that we have heard of youth using here in Johnson County and surrounding us. So with that, if I have questions, you can let me know towards the end. So these are the top two devices that we have seen this year. We have the Puff Bar on the left and Pop Disposable on the right. My coworker Miranda and I we went and purchased these, took them back to the office and checked these out, and we were really just surprised because they're so much different than some of the devices that we have seen before. And so I'm going to share with you, but this is just a quick picture. So with the Puff Bar and the Pop Disposable, they both retail for around $12.99 at local gas stations. I actually purchased 3 of them because I got a buy 2, get 1 free promotion, and you can kind of mix and match your devices. They both contain 5% nicotine, so we're talking about roughly the same amount as what you would be smoking if you're smoking a cigarette when you're inhaling this. They claim to, in the Puff Bar, contain up to 300 puffs per one device and up to 400 puffs per one device on the Pop Bar. For those of you who don't know, these contain a salt-based nicotine, which is a heavier concentration of nicotine than just a liquid type nicotine. They also contain vegetable glycerin, polypropylene glycol, which I just learned. I have a camper and we're getting ready to winterize it, and I just learned that that is in antifreeze. So a lot of people use that for antifreeze for your camper so that your lines don't freeze up. So that's one of the ingredients in a lot of these devices. Mind blown. And then natural and artificial flavors. These are both disposable, ready to use out of the box. They come in a variety of flavors. It's nothing that needs to be recharged or refilled. You actually cannot do that with either of these devices. So to share a little bit more about this, on this packaging for the Puff Bar, so many people are worried about where are our devices made, where are these products coming from, and the Puff Bar clearly states on the packaging that it is made in China, but it was designed in the US. So unfortunately, we're designing these new devices and then outsourcing it probably to get a less expensive product. As you can see on the Puff Bar, it comes in a box and then it has a packaging and then it's got your device. The device is about the size of a small flash drive. They're not very big whatsoever. And with this one, we were really surprised because you can smell it. I don't know if it's the lychee flavor scent, but man, if you take this out of the box, our whole office smelled like lychee ice, whatever that is, if you can imagine in your mind. So it's not something that you could easily be carrying around and someone not wonder, what on earth is that smell? With the pop disposable, this one really concerned us because of its packaging. It comes in a small box as well. On that box, on both of these boxes, they do have the graphic health warning that says this does contain nicotine. And then they come in a plastic packaging. And then the device itself, as you can see, and I'll show you another picture, looks just like the outside packaging. But we noticed that as you go in from the box to the wrapper to the device, the tobacco warnings get smaller and smaller and smaller. And so they actually don't even have a tobacco warning on the device itself. On the side, it just has the small, tiny little 5% nicotine. So it would be really hard to tell if that's what it was. If you're looking at this, if anybody wants to chime in, what does this look like to you? When you look at this packaging, is there anything that you would compare it to? Everybody's muted, so. Anyone have a thought?
A candy bar.
A candy bar? Okay, yeah. It's a little bit smaller than that, but a candy bar, that's good. It's got exciting packaging. Any other thoughts?
It reminds me of the like Crystal Light lemonade flavor I put into my water.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where we went with it. And actually Derek is on the call today too. He's a school resource officer at C9, and he looked at it and he said, I was just at my office. I was just talking to a coworker who had a drink additive packet on his desk, and I couldn't have told you if it was this or if it was that. So looking at that, it's about the same size as the drink packet, maybe just a little bit wider, but the device itself is small and the size of a drink packet, and it looks just like the packaging, which is something we have not seen before. So it's really trying to hide it in plain sight for that. And like we said, if you look at this one specifically, it says pop on it. This is the peach lemonade or the iced pineapple. I don't know if, I'm a parent, I don't know if I saw this in my kid's backpack or on a desk or laying on my kitchen table, if I would recognize this as a vaping device. So just something to be on the lookout for. These also have a very minimal smell, unlike the puff bars that, as I said, were very potent. The next device that we have looked at and we've been hearing about is called Bang XL. And the Bang, again, is made in China. The packaging, I would say, it's similar to kind of a lip gloss size. It comes in this nice plastic, hard plastic case. One thing that I did appreciate, that it does say no sale to under 21 on the exterior packaging, which was a new law last year. It was just passed, and now you cannot buy nicotine or tobacco products if you are 21 or under. So you have to be 21. So that was nice. The Bang XL is only $14.99. This one contains up to 600 puffs per device. Again, it is one that's ready to use, no charging, no refilling, and it actually lights up at the end to look a lot like a cigarette or a cigar, something of that nature. I would say that this is about the size of a small cigar or a cigarillo. If you're trying to talk in comparison, it's a little bit larger than the last devices that we saw. As you can see, kind of compared to lip gloss, it's kind of in there. It's not quite as small as chapstick, but not quite as large as lip gloss, but it's still a really small device and easily concealable. As you can see here, the way that they have designed that end on there, the tip that lights up, it's supposed to look like a fire. So, or like it's, like a regular cigar, something of that nature. And like I said, they come in different colors. So depending on which color you get, that's what color it's going to light up, or it might light up blue if it's pink or red or whatnot. So something that is also alluring. We found numerous YouTube videos of people using their Bang device, and here it lights up, and this is what we can do. This device, from what we have seen, provides more vapor and a bigger cloud. So for users who are looking for something that is less discreet, this would be it. So as opposed to the other devices that really they're wanting to conceal those, this would be something that might be a little bit more risky in terms of utilizing that in front of your teacher or peers or a parent or something like that, but still very easily concealable. And then we have Mr. Fog. Mr. Fog is one that we haven't purchased yet, so I can't tell you about the packaging necessarily inside, but these are about the same size as the first devices that we showed you. And this is one that we're hearing in some of the surrounding counties. That's a big one. Again, Mr. Fog is just like the Puff Bar, just like the Pop, and just like the Bang. It's just the newest wave, and they're all really similar devices. They are disposable devices, and they don't have any extra equipment. They're easily concealable. And they come in a variety of flavors. These are just a few of the flavors. As you notice, the packaging is alluring to kids. My daughters would think, oh, look at that lip gloss. This is so exciting. Look at these flavors. Not necessarily marketing to parents or adults. Mr. Fog is only $9.99 and it contains up to 1,000 puffs in a device. So if you're talking about bang for your buck, that could be it. It contains 5% nicotine, and this device actually said it's equal to 5 Juul pods. So when you're talking about price, and you're talking about now with not having the availability to get the flavored Juul pods, this is just a real, I could see that this would be flying off the shelves as far as ease of use, accessibility, and what it has and what it does. So definitely something to be concerned about. And then Mr. Fog also has this other device called the Drop. This looks a lot like a device that we saw quite a few of last year. And the devices that we saw last year, they look a lot like whiteout, the whiteout strips that you use. And this is something that I want to say this might be behind the Juul pods, the number 2 of what we saw confiscated last year, about this size. So the fact that they have come out with this, the one that we saw last year was a refillable, and this is not refillable. This again is a single use, but look at all the fun colors, right? So that retails for $8.99, again, up to 500 puffs. So these are significantly cheaper than the Puff Bars and the Pop. These are equal to 3 Juul pods. And again, no refilling, no recharging, ready to use out of the box, a variety of flavors. This is probably considered kind of your bargain device if you're looking for something small, disposable, easy to use, easy to hide and conceal. So if you have any questions, I would open up now, or if anybody wants to comment on anything. And you can visit our website. We'll have more information there. Follow our Facebook page. Anybody have anything? Any surprises?
Thanks, Michelle. It definitely opened my eyes to really kind of the clever packaging and the approach that they're using with the youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely see that. And as a parent, as a caregiver, as an educator, as a law enforcement officer, trying to keep up on what these look like, what we're looking for, because it's the packaging, the design, the marketing is so targeted towards youth, and just the industry's way of trying to get new users for nicotine, and they're always a step ahead of us, even if we think we've got it. So trying to stay educated, we are trying to stay on top of that, and hopefully being a good resource for the community. So thank you.
Absolutely. Anybody else with feedback? Any surprises? I think I was really surprised that it looked like you could flavor your drink, or that it's a type of candy.
Yeah.
It definitely does not stick out when you, Michelle, when you shared the the packaging, and then you had a couple of, well, you had a variety of different things, and you kind of have it laid in. It was a picture that you showed on your PowerPoint. It's just very non-assuming, and it would absolutely fit into, like you said, just in plain sight, right?
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, that's one to watch out for. I would think. And I picked that up at a gas station on 135, and the attendant said, "This is our most popular." And although they're not supposed to be sold to 21 and under, that could happen, or you could have a near peer, someone who is 21, 22, and that's an older college sibling or friend who's purchasing them for younger. And at that kind of price point, if you're getting 3 of them for $20, they could be making some money. So,
Hey, can you show that picture again of the number 1, number 2?
yeah.
I also have a question. Are Bang energy drinks related to these products?
I am unsure if they are on the same. I would assume that there's maybe some kind of correlation, but we could check on that and see. I'll look at that while we have our next presenter. Sorry, trying to flip that. So this is number 1 and number 2, the puff bar and the pop disposable. And the packaging, as you can see on the puff bar, you can tell that that's, if you picked it up and looked at it, you can see it has the cloud on it. It says 5%. I would, and you can really smell it. I would, as a parent, or if you were looking at something and saying, okay, what is this device? You would know that is not a flash drive, even though it's about the same size. On the pop, the same thing. It has a very faint scent, but really the packaging on the side, it says 5%, very, very small. I think it says 5% nicotine. It's very tiny, and you would really have to look for it. That one, I would think, is probably the biggest risk as far as just hiding right there in plain sight.
Okay. Well, thank you, Michelle. And definitely let's make sure that we are sharing this information with our families and friends. We are recording this, just so you know, so if you would like to have a copy of the recording, we can give that to you. Our next presenter is Nancy Voris, who is going to share insight on how our youth are being targeted by nicotine industry giants. So Nancy, just to give you a little bit of background on Nancy, she has worked through Johnson Memorial and the Partnership for a Healthier Johnson County for the last 7 years, serving as the coordinator of the tobacco grant from the Indiana State Department of Health. Prior to that, she was a business owner, and she worked for the Daily Journal for 14 years as a writer and as an advertising executive. She and her husband own Hayberry Farm, where they raise Percheron horses, and together they have 4 children and 7 grandchildren.
We had anyway. All right, so just a little bit about tobacco sales in Johnson County. As you know, the old form of advertising for the tobacco industry was print advertising, billboards, branding. And when they were restricted on that, then we go to point of sale, what we call point of sale, everything at the retail point. So this is a little bit about that. Tobacco point of sale marketing includes the price promotions, any kind of discounts, the product displays, product placement, and retail advertising. And I want to point out that retailers often have contracts with the tobacco companies that specify where tobacco products have to be placed, at what height, and what proportion of the display needs to be dedicated to any particular product. So tobacco industry does not allow, sometimes does not allow the retailers to just randomly throw things up. They are strategic in their placement. So in the United States, $9.1 billion is spent on tobacco, or was spent on tobacco marketing in 2018, which is $1 million per hour. And 92% of that is spent at the point of sale. And in Indiana, it's estimated 293 million is spent on tobacco marketing each year, which is about $45 per Hoosier. That's interesting. I'm trying to think of any other industry that targets us like that, that spends that much to market their product directly to us. So why does it matter? You'll see how it encourages youth to start using tobacco. It makes it more difficult to quit. As somebody who, as a person who might be trying to quit smoking, they are bombarded from the time they pick up the pump at the gas station to the time they pay for their purchase. They are bombarded with tobacco. So it makes it very hard for them. And it also disproportionately targets some communities. We know that the low-income communities will have cheaper products to get them to either use tobacco or keep using tobacco. So what does it look like in Johnson County? From February to August this year, we completed 118 retail store audits in Johnson County, and that is thanks to all of these lovely people who were out there pounding the pavement with either their cell phones, where we would input the information, or with a clipboard and notepad, jotting all this information down. So we were lucky that they completed the data processing in time for us to do this presentation. So this is very up-to-date information you're about to see. So let's see. This just shows a comparison statewide in Indiana, the number of retailers and the number in Johnson County. The density, which is the number of retailers per 1,000 population. Percentage of tobacco retailers within 1,000 feet of a school, which we know from data that children that are that close to a tobacco retailer are more likely to start using tobacco products. And then the density there at the bottom. All right, in Johnson County, you can see our, the blue is less than one retailer per 1,000 feet. Let's see, I'm sorry, 1,000 population. The yellow is 1 to 1.9, and then the darker gold is where they are very dense in Johnson County. So you see the northern side of Franklin up 31, and down in Edinburgh. Edinburgh it's interesting. It's split between 3 counties, that one little town, but we do know the retail density there is heavy too. So here are the types of stores that we assessed in Johnson County. Most were the convenience stores, and also the liquor stores, the mass merchandiser like Meijer and Walmart. So yeah, convenience stores are by far the heaviest retailers of tobacco. And here are the types of products that were sold, cigarette of course being the most common. And I was kind of surprised, the nicotine pouches, how many sell those? And then the light blue is compared to the other counties in the state. All right, so we're going to take a look. I mean, you might all be having trouble picturing this, and it's subconscious. We do it subconsciously. Don't even think about this. The advertising is so common now. But these are some of the national photos. I have national and county to kind of compare what things look like. You'll see that, you know, on the storefronts now, it's from the time you walk up to the door. You'll be bombarded. It's just very in your face. This is actually, the middle photo is at the pump. So we're seeing more and more signage at the pump, and then also on the door. And then these, yeah, these are some Donald and Bob, they did their audits together. I think Bob did the data, and Donald was busy snapping pictures. So these are a store here in Franklin. The Zen here are nicotine pouches that we were just talking about. But just to give you an idea of what this all looks like. So the percentage of retailers with exterior tobacco advertisements, 72%. Some have taken a policy of keeping it very clean. I think Casey's is one. There's a Casey's in Edinburgh and one here in Franklin. Their storefronts are totally clean. It's really very refreshing not to be bombarded with all of this. And then these are youth targeting, the different flavors. And I compare it to a carnival. It just gives kids a, sensory appeal that a carnival might, just to want to try everything and taste everything. These are some photos we took here in the county. The one on the left I took in Bargersville. These are the Puff Bars, Puff Bar, the newer products Michelle was talking about. And we're always vigilant whenever it is close to something. Excuse me, somebody's just now wanting in. Let's see if we can get them in here. Okay. It's right over the Blue Bunny case. So we think as a child, we think of children maybe 5, 6, when they're first starting to nose, oh, we're going into this store, I always get candy. Well, they're seeing at eye level here in the middle photo. You can see at eye level. This one's one Miranda. No, Miranda took the one on the right. Donald took the one here in the middle. But at their height, they're looking at candy, and then right next to it is the tobacco products. So it's kind of indoctrinating kids just a little to, oh, it's all acceptable, it's all good, it's all fun. And same thing with Miranda's photo on the right, the candy on the bottom. The kids are looking at the candy, their eyes just naturally go up to the other flavored products. And they set their goals on that as soon as they're old enough to get a hold of something. Okay. All right, so the sale of flavored tobacco products, menthol is one of the highest because it is the one of the cigarettes that is still allowed to be flavored. So that's pretty much a given there that's going to be a popular product. All right, so youth product and placement. We've talked about placement a little bit, but if you look around, you'll see these 2 for 99-cent cigarillos just everywhere. That's pretty much a given. And also the way they place it, we've talked about with candy, just kind of all flows in together. And here, there's a picture here with even next to the coloring books, they just, they just know that if they put it next to a product that children are looking at, they are likely to, entice them into buying when they have the opportunity. All right, so these are the percentage of retailers with child-targeted advertising and youth-appealing products. At eye level, children's eye level within 3 feet. Like I say, the cigarillos price less than $1. We also know that they empty those out and put marijuana in. I'm sure Doug and the other SROs can fill us in on that. Okay, price promotions. Here's where they're giving coupons, buy one, get one free. And I am going to hurry mine up a little because I want Kathy to have plenty of time and plenty of time for questions. So there again, comparing Johnson County with the other counties on price promotions. All right, this is kind of interesting. The cheapest cigarette pack, Johnson County's is actually $5.20, and you'll notice that all counties put together $4.97. One reason for that is Johnson County doesn't have, oops, bringing someone else in, okay. Johnson County doesn't have a lot of poverty areas compared to the bigger cities. So you're going to see cheaper products in low-income areas, and that's one reason for that. All right, key takeaways. The tobacco industry relies heavily on point-of-sale tactics to market their products. It's just like the flavored, when they restricted Juul on their flavors, then these puff bars and these disposables come up. So it's like anywhere the tobacco industry can find a loophole, they're going to do that. And the same goes with their advertising tactics. The point of sale marketing encourages youth to start using tobacco, makes quitting more difficult, and disproportionately targets some communities. A high proportion of tobacco retailers in Johnson County engage in point-of-sale tobacco marketing tactics, including displaying tobacco advertisements, engaging in price promotions, and promoting cheap, flavored, youth-appealing products. So, okay, what can you do? Share this information with others. Join our coalition. You can either join Tobacco Free Johnson County. We have a monthly meeting. And also Empower does that at the youth level. So actually several of us are on both of them, on both coalitions. So we really work together hard on these things. And just stay up to date about the local and statewide tobacco control issues. I can almost guarantee you this at this year's legislature, they will try to defund some of our tobacco programs in the state. There'll be so much money health-wise needed for COVID relief, different kinds of COVID expenditures. And it's very likely they could try to take some of the tobacco control funding this year. So stay current on those things and send a letter to the legislators when you can, and help us out there at the State House on different things. So, okay, I am going to wrap it up and let Kathy get to it. If anyone has any questions right now, I'll try to answer.
Any questions? Well, thank you, Nancy. You know, for me, in looking at the last two topics, I just see how purposeful and how strategic the large nicotine industry is, and you know, and how they're targeting it's not just our youth. I mean, it's truly our communities. And it's even before we get into a point of sale, right? It's pumping gas.
Right.
Again, I think just, you know, being aware of the methodology that they're using, and really kind of being aware of the current products that are out there will help us kind of be that voice to help reduce nicotine, especially in the hands of our youth, but just in our community in general. So without any questions, we'll go ahead and move on to our next speaker, which is Kathy Bloom. Kathy is speaking to us today about underage sales of tobacco products in Johnson County, and what do the FDA regulations look like. Kathy's been with the Division of Mental Health and Addiction at FSSA, the Family Social Services Administration, for 2 years. She is the SINAR and Alcohol Program Director, and in her role, she assists retailers and communities with understanding why compliance with underage state laws for tobacco and alcohol is important. Previously, she was with the American Lung Association of Indiana for almost 5 years. And there she focused on smoke-free housing policies and cessation programs. She lives in Plainfield with her son, Braden, and her life partner, Dustin, and their cat, George. With that, Kathy, I'll turn it over to you.
There we go. Okay. I shared my screen and I'm like, oh, I haven't unmuted myself yet. I had to figure out how to do that. Yes, I like to say my cat George, but he's also my coworker since we started. He's asleep to my left right now on the table. So if you see me reach for anything, it'll be him doing something he's not supposed to. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started about what underage sales look like in Indiana. So there are different types of tobacco compliance checks that take place in Indiana. There's 3 different types. So SINAR, which is what I help monitor and what is federally mandated, and there's a report attached to by SAMHSA. It does include a random sample of retailers. SAMHSA gives us an algorithm. We plug in all of our retailers and it spits out a sample size. This year's is a little over 400 retailers that we have to inspect. There's also what are called TCC inspections, which are just tobacco compliance checks, and that's what our Alcohol Tobacco Commission, those are those inspections that they do as part of their job. And then there's also FDA inspections that are conducted in the state. So FDA contracts with states to do those kinds of compliance checks. I'm sure most of you have heard, especially around the flavor ban that was mentioned earlier, FDA is issuing a lot of warning letters to retailers about marketing practices or products that are on the market that shouldn't be. And those FDA inspectors are the ones that follow up with that. There's 2 different kinds of FDA inspections. One is similar to the compliance checks that you'll see here that help do underage compliance. The other is the advertising, where they do a little bit more about what Nancy was talking about, and they make sure that the warning labels are there, that that they have the proper signage in their stores that's required on the federal level. And those are just plainclothes officers that go in and check and make sure that those are in compliance. And then the separate checks I'll talk about a little bit more in detail. But to go back a little bit about what SINAR is, SINAR is actually the last name of a congressman from Oklahoma who was the first one in the 90s to implement regulation requirements around the sale of tobacco products. So this required every state in the United States to have a law that prohibited the sale of tobacco products to those under the age of 18. And then shortly after that, SAMHSA decided to step in and put a little bit of teeth behind it to make sure that states were actually doing what was required on the federal level. So they required states to have laws prohibiting the sales of those products to under age 18, that they had to enforce those laws. They also had to conduct annual unannounced inspections. And then that target rate had to be about 20% or less of the retailers sampled could be in violation. This recently was changed. So now, well, 20% is still the same. The violation, if we go over 20% of retailers in violation, the block grant funding that my office utilizes for both treatment and prevention could be cut by, it was 40%, but back in December with the federal tobacco 21 law, they also decreased that requirement to 10%. Which doesn't seem like, it seems like a lot from 40 to 10, but when you're talking about a federal grant that we get that's over $12 million, that's still a lot of money, even at 10%. And this also requires us to submit an annual report every December. It's due December 31st of every year. And just for a little bit of historical, this is the rates since inspections have started. So the blue bar you see here is Indiana's SINAR retailer violation rate. That has to be under 20%. Now, when it first started, they gave states some time. So it wasn't until around the early 2000s before they really were coming down on states to make sure they were below that 20%. Because obviously right out of the gate, our first inspection in 97, we were at 40% of retailers selling to those underage. Now, the reason this dotted line is here is really important because that actually shows the average number of inspections conducted per month for that year. And this is across the board. This is not including SINAR inspections because it is a small sample. This is also including the tobacco compliance checks, the TCC ones that I discussed earlier. And as you can tell, the more inspections that were conducted per month, the lower our retailer violation rate was. Back in the 2010, 2011, there was actually some more funding allocated to ATC in order to conduct more inspections. It was called the TRIP program. I don't know if any of you were familiar with it, which is Tobacco Retailer Inspection Program. But that has since gone away. The funding for that is no longer around. So then our rates started to climb because we weren't able to conduct as many inspections as we had in the past. Around 2018, we did have a little bit of a spike, and it did go up to getting closer to that 20% rate. Now, from what I've heard from, this was before I started with Division of Mental Health, so I'm not 100% sure on some of that reasoning, but from my counterparts in other states, there was a slight increase in retailer violation rates across the country. So this was kind of a trend. I don't know if it was a shift in the industry in itself, but there was higher rates across many states. And as of last year's report, so the federal reports go off of the federal fiscal year. So when it says federal fiscal year 20 on this, it is for federal fiscal year 20. So the inspections were conducted in 2019. So the 21 report will have inspections from the calendar year of 20. So this data is going to show a little bit about the 2020 report, so inspections from 2019, about the buy rate based on type of retail outlet and age. So the 4 bars on the left are out of the 16-year-olds that went in and did inspections, and the ones on the right are out of the 17-year-olds. And you can see that it was kind of high in gas stations, which in both realms, those are the most frequented by teenagers. Largely. Now the other section is typically going to be like your standalone tobacco stores that are more like your Dollar Generals, your discount stores, since there's not an option to check within the SINAR protocol for those particular. Some people might lump them in as grocery stores, but they're really not. They're more of a discount store. And then this is what it looked like in 2019. So I know Nancy reported earlier that there was 121 retailers that were used in their point of sale marketing. That's largely because they also surveyed alcohol retailers. In 2019, this was before the federal and state age increase, and we weren't doing underage inspections in alcohol retailers that sold tobacco because it is starkly obvious when you send a 16-year-old into an alcohol retailer that they are underage. So we are going to start lumping in the older kids and going into some of those alcohol and liquor stores moving forward since that age is increased. For 2019, Johnson County had 59 inspections done, and that resulted in 5 violations, which meant a retailer violation rate of around 8.5%. Which is actually relatively low. It's not bad for the state. I say anything 10 and under is actually pretty good. But if you look at ATC District 6, which is 11 counties, pretty much kind of the Marion, Johnson area, and then east, there's a total of about 1,224 retailers, and there were in 2019 almost 1,700 inspections done. So also to keep in mind, every time someone violates, especially on the TTC or FDA side inspection, they do get a follow-up inspection. So that's why you'll see sometimes higher numbers than the number of retailers. And that also doesn't mean that every retailer got inspected. So one store could have been inspected multiple times due to different violation reasons or having someone report that they needed to follow up on it. But that resulted in 281 violations in a district as a whole with a 16.5%. Now I say this is here, district includes Marion County, so that is that's not surprising. Marion County's number has been typically high. The more rural counties, it tends to decrease. 1, because there's not as many retailers, and 2, because the inspections are done a little bit better and they know kind of what's going to happen. In Marion County, a lot of times retailers who know they're going to violate these types of policies build in a cushion for the fines and fees. So they kind of know and expect to get a violation. this is just a few resources I wanted to share with you guys, because the ATC website, if you guys ever, this is the wrong, I did this presentation for Lake County previously, so I forgot to update your guys' lieutenant for District 6. So that's the lieutenant for District 1, but if you go to that website, you can look up your District 6 officer, and that would be how you report any violations. So if you know of a kid who has purchased, or you suspect that a retailer is purchasing, you can always submit an anonymous complaint through that portal. You can also go through FDA's website as well. They'll both take any complaints or concerns you have and follow up on those. And then the very top map is one that I had created about a year ago that covers all of the inspections. So while FDA has a site that tracks kind of similarly the inspections they do, I wanted something that covered the SINAR inspections, the TTC inspections, and FDA. So if you go to the link on our DMHA site and go to that website, that actually contains all 3 types of inspections. They're color-coded. Green means they passed, red means they failed. If it's yellow, it means they may have passed one recently, but they failed the one prior. Which is kind of like a gray area to make sure you understand that, you know, they may be good now, but prior they weren't. The data on that map goes back to, I believe it was the middle of 2017. It was too difficult to go back and get all of the information that we had historically in a format that would work for this map. So we kind of just started where we started and moved forward. But if you want anything historical from that, just let me know. I can always pull data from the past as well. And quickly, I want to go over some of the FDA regulations that are going on right now. Many of you probably are familiar with the deeming rule, which gave FDA the authority to regulate other tobacco products. So this was the original timeline they had. It's changed multiple times, as you'll see. It did state that any product from August 6th or August 8th, 2016, was supposed to have submitted an application for pre-market authorization. Now, in 2017, that changed, and they had a new plan announced, which meant that any new combustible products, so like any new cigars or anything that came on the market, had until August of this year, or August of next year, 2021, to submit an application, and non-combustibles, which should include the vaping products, had until August 8th of 2022. Now, because this is so far out from the 2016 regulation that they've had authority to do so, they ended up getting sued. So they got sued by a lot of public health authorities and physicians across the country. And the result of that happened in May of last year, that ruled in favor of those health groups, finding that the FDA had failed to ensure the health, and that those products were going underneath the new pre-market authorization process. And this was the timeline that came out of that. So it was originally supposed to be May 12th of 2020 that they were supposed to have those applications on file, but because of COVID, they gave them an extra couple months. So this happened this last September 9th was the day that all products that were on the market post 2016 will have to have a pre-market authorization application on file with the FDA. They're allowed to have that on the file with FDA for up to a year before receiving any response. If they haven't received a response by this time next year, they're to pull that product from the market and no longer sell it until FDA gives them approval to do so. I know that's confusing. I have another presentation with the AG's office in a couple of weeks. So if you're going to the Attorney General's drug symposium, please check out my session. I go into a lot more detail into that process. The other one I know we touched on previously, Michelle was talking about some of the flavor bans, so I want to discuss that a little bit. So tobacco and menthol are allowed to remain on the market. All other flavors were supposed to be removed temporarily, and it was only the cartridge-based products that were, so the pods that were pre-filled. So if it was a tank that was empty from like a regular vape shop that can be refilled with a vial, those were allowed to remain on the market. So this shows a little bit better example. So the circle up in the top are the products that need to be pulled. So that green is actually the mint flavor, not the menthol flavor of Juul pods. So those are not allowed to be on the market. And then also any other flavored pre-filled cartridge. Now, all the other products you see below are allowed to because their pods are either refillable or they're a flavor, they're disposable, or their flavor falls within the tobacco or menthol range. I like to share this little blown apart pod at the bottom because there's a company that's not Juul that sells a Juul compatible pod that is refillable. While there is a YouTube video that's really easy to find on how to take apart a regular Juul pod, I just wanted to make you guys aware that there are refillable ones on the market as well. Puff Bar, I will say, has been issued a warning letter a few months ago to stop their sale because they actually don't have a pre-market authorization application on file with the FDA, and because they found that once the flavor ban went into effect, that those were the popular ones that youth went to. That's why they decided to go ahead and target that one, being like, hey, you guys have known since 2016 that you've had to have a pre-market authorization on file since this is a new product, and you failed to do so. That was the quick and dirty of what I do and following FDA regulations. So I'm sure there will be questions, but yeah.
Well, thank you, Kathy. Does anybody have any questions? Just be mindful you're on mute, so you'll want to unmute yourself. Any questions?
This is Doug, and I do have one for Kathy.
Yeah.
Kathy, what are some of the fines that the retailers?
Good question.
Well, it depends on who they got, who the inspection was done by. So FDA has their own set of fines, and so does the state. So if it was a state inspection, they typically get a warning unless they have had another violation within, I believe, the last 180 days, which is problematic because we don't have enough ATC officers to get to every single tobacco retailer in the state, let alone enough. Most of these retailers haven't seen a state officer in about 1.5 to 2 years. So most of the ones that are violating on a state level will only get a warning letter because their last violation was outside that window to be escalated to the next level. FDA is a little bit stricter. If they had a violation previous, then they will escalate the fines and fees. And that's actually on the FDA website as well. I can't remember what it is, but like I mentioned, a lot of retailers actually do build into their budgets these fines and fees because they almost expect it to happen. They know it's going to happen. One, it's human error because you can only so many times people are going to violate. But it also speaks to the fact that they don't necessarily care if an associate sells to an underage person. So they aren't taking it as seriously. So they do keep a budget for paying some of these fines and fees.
Very interesting.
All right, do I have the contact information up on your screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Trouble with that.
Yeah.
No.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Nancy, for the contact information. If anybody's got any questions, please feel free. We're here. We'll stick around. I just want to be respectful of everybody's time. Kathy, thank you so much. I just think that the speaker panel has been phenomenal. It's been very educational. Again, I encourage any of the participants to do a quick screen capture of the speaker's contact information. If there's anything you want to reach out, please feel free to do so. I think sometimes when you think about the information we just learned, maybe questions come later. So make sure you jot down their information. If there aren't any other questions.
I have one other thing. If anybody wants to stay on, this wasn't on the agenda, but I have a video of a student from Hamilton County who actually experienced the lung injury. It's about 3 minutes. I know we didn't touch on any of the health aspects of the vaping, but if anybody would like to stay on and see that, this will be my last chance to show it. So
Definitely a moving video.
And I do want to share really quick before any of you drop off. As of this year for inspections, they halted in March and then just started again a couple weeks ago. Johnson County has had 32 inspections and 0 violations.
great.
The ones that happened prior to COVID starting, we largely feel has been because of the federal tobacco 21 law. And anyone, I don't know if we've had any actually in the last couple of weeks because we literally just started inspections about a couple weeks ago. But a lot of it has had to do with that age increase, I feel.
Yeah, good to know.
Yeah, just to put a plug out there, tomorrow we have an Empower Johnson County meeting at 4 p.m. It's via Zoom. We're going to be talking about kind of a wrap up of our past year, because as Sarah said at the beginning, we just started a new fiscal year, year 5 of our grant. And so we're going to be talking about that. And then we're going to be talking about some big plans that we have for this year. So we're really excited to share with everyone. So if you want to join us, the link is on our Facebook page in the event section, or you can email me directly and I will send it to you. Thank you.
All right, everybody have a great week. Again, thanks Empower Johnson County. Thank you Partnership for a Healthier Johnson County. Kathy, Michelle, Nancy, as always, we appreciate everything you do. Thanks everybody.
Thank
Have
you.
a good week.
Yep. All right, I'm going to go ahead and show this if anybody wants to see it. So.
Change screens, Nancy. Your screen's not showing.
It's not. Okay. Here we go
I
again.
was first started vaping was the beginning of my sophomore year.
No love.